Hello, dear students. I hope you all have enjoyed your Dashera and utilized your holidays, not even in enjoyment, fun, but also doing some studies. So now it's the time to continue with our studies. So before the holidays, we were doing Economics Chapter 2, People as Resource. We started with the introduction of asset and liabilities. How the people they become an asset and liability. Then we discussed about the three main economic activities: primary, secondary and tertiary. Then we also continued with the market and non-market activities. Today we are going to continue our chapter with health, employment, and how health affects the income and expenditure of the country, and various policies and programs started by the government for the education of the girl child specially. So let's begin with the explanation. So children, I was talking about education. So let's learn, educate and change the world. So for education, government has recently launched Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan to spread education to the remote, or we can say the backward parts of the country, especially the villages. And under this program, all children who come under 6 to 14 years of age, they are given elementary or the primary education. So children, you have to learn Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. What does it mean? It is launched to spread education to the backward parts of the country, and under this program, all children who are under 6 to 14 years of age, they are given elementary or the primary education. Then next program, or we should say the next policy launched by government is midday meal. In this, government provides midday meal in government schools so that children of poor people can attend the school. Then children, midday meal also helps many children from the poor family to attend the school. Then in the beginning of this chapter, we talked about the first 5-year plan that started in the year 1951. Now today we will talk about the 10th plan. The 10th plan has focused on increasing the enrollment in higher education from 6% to 9%, and the strategy is to increase access, quality and adoption of state specific curriculum to motivate enrollment in higher education, which means children that 10th plan is focusing basically on higher education from 6% to 9%, and the strategy is to increase the quality education and to enroll or motivate children in higher education. Then vocational courses are also offered, and use of information technology is being maximized to attain the goal. So vocational course, that is in besides the academic courses, various other courses like art, music, dance, different fields, they are also there, and the use of information technology, that is the latest technology, is also used in maximum number to attain the desired goal of this plan. Then the 10th plan also focuses on distant education, convergence of formal, non-formal and IT education. So these are the various aspects of 10th plan launched by the government of India to increase the quality education and to increase the literacy rate in the country. Then here is the list of institutions which are made by the government schools and colleges for higher education, enrollment and faculty. Children, you can go through this chart, that is the year in 1950 to 1951, number of colleges, number of universities, number of students and number of teachers. And then finally the last plan which is mentioned over here, 1998 to 1999, the increase in each and everything. Then we will study in little more detail about Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. Children, Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan is an Indian government program which aims, as I have told you, at the universalization of elementary education in a time bound manner, that is in a fixed time, as mandated as it is given compulsory by the 86th Amendment to the Constitution of India of making free and compulsory education to children who are of age group 6 to 14 years, and it is also a fundamental right. And children, do you know who has launched this program? This program was launched by Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Then that's the right to education. As you can see, it's the fundamental right. Then let's see a little history of Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. This has been operational since 2000 to 2001 and its roots go back to 1993-1994 when the district primary education program was launched, and its aim was to achieve the universal primary education. Then this program has several phases, covered to 72 districts in 18 states of the country. Then the expenditure on the program was shared by the central government, that is 85%, and even by the state governments. And the central share was funded by a number of external agencies including the World Bank, DFID and UNICEF. And children, by 2001, more than $1,500 million had been committed to the program. So this is a little history of Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. You can go through it and try to remember it. Now we see what are the present goals of Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. So its latest goals of 2015 were to open new schools in areas which do not have the schools and to expand existing school infrastructures and even maintenance of the schools. Then to address inadequate teacher numbers and provide training or development for existing teachers. Then provide quality elementary education including life skills with a special focus on the education of girls and children with special needs as well as computer education. So these are the present goals of Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. Children, you can go through it and learn it. Then comes the health. A healthy person can fully realize his potential and, as I have told you, can be an asset for the economy. On the other hand, an unhealthy person shall not be able to realize his potential and he or she can be a liability for the economy. Then the National Health Policy of India is aimed towards improving access to health services and improving nutrition, especially among the underprivileged classes. Then the government health system is composed of many tiers of hospitals. So the government system has many hospitals at different levels. The primary health centers are the bottom of this tier and provide general medical care to rural people. Then this is followed after primary health centers. Then comes the community health centers in bigger tehsils or block level towns. Then the district hospitals are at district level. Then we have medical colleges which are present in major cities. where doctors of all specialities are present. Then the reach of healthcare services is still too little, but reduction in infant mortality and improvement in life expectancy over the years have shown that the healthcare system has been helping in improving the quality of health. Now children, we will see unemployment. When a person is seeking a job, when he is trying to find a job but is unable to get employed. Simple, he is called an unemployed person. People in the working age 15 to 59 years only can be termed unemployed if any one of them is without a gainful employment. Additionally, if a person voluntarily does not want to work, that is, if a person he or she is not willing to work, he cannot be termed as unemployed. Unemployment means when a person is willing to work but he is not getting any job. As you can see children, this is an employer and new vacancy is there. So many people, they are standing to get the job in the company or wherever they have gone. So let's see what are the various types of unemployment. Seasonal unemployment. This type of unemployment is more prevalent, is more found in rural areas. The farming cycle is season based. So why it is found more in rural areas? Because here most of the people, they are based on the farming in various seasons. There are certain months which are quite busy for a farm worker. Then there are many other months when a farm worker is without the work. Then comes hidden unemployment. This type of unemployment is also more prevalent or found in rural areas only. So to understand this, let's see the example of a family with 8 working members. All the 8 working members, they are working on their farm, and the size of the farm makes it possible to be efficiently managed. So 5 persons are required here, 10 members are working in it. The extra 3 persons, they are not contributing towards any growth in productivity. They are working because they have no other gainful employment. So similar situation can also be seen in some family owned shops, where all the family members may be working in the same shop, but they are not adding anything to the national income. Then educated unemployed. The problem of unemployment among the educated youth is very high in urban areas. Nowadays, even highly educated youths like graduates and postgraduates, they are unable to find a job. Some analysts suggest that most of the highly educated youth, they do not possess employment. But most of the analysts say that it is because of demand-supply gap. So while many technically qualified people, they are employed, there are many jobs remaining vacant because of lack of properly trained persons. So there are some jobs, few jobs vacant but the people are not properly trained in some fields. So let's see finally what are the effects of unemployment. Unemployment can be emotionally draining on the unemployed person. So emotionally he is affected. It can be a financial and emotional drain on his family members. Then a large number of employed people is ultimately a liability for the society. Then high rate of unemployment can also increase the crime rate. So this is all for today children. I hope you have understood the chapter. It's the real fact of today's generation Go through the chapter, mark all the important points, read it thoroughly, and try to understand the chapter. That's all for today. Thank you. Have a good day.